This is the Head Rush Podcast with Paul Frase and Corey Berry.
Welcome to the Head Rush Podcast. I'm Paul Frase, and I played 11 years in the NFL. And our co-host,
what's the NFL?
Not for long. And our co-host Corey Berry rode professional rodeo for 9 years. At the Head Rush Podcast, we talk about everything related to brain trauma and brain health and wellness. We focus on traumatic injury, traumatic brain injury sustained through repeated head impacts, RHIs, and repeated blast exposure, RBE, for our men and women who serve in the armed forces. We talk about traumatic encephalopathy syndrome and chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And we cover how traumatic brain injuries can and will cause mental health issues or brain health issues, as our friend Dr. Amen expressed. Brain health issues such as depression, addiction, lack of executive function, memory loss, even suicide ideation, as well as degenerative neurological issues. Our mantra is how to cope and find hope. And we focus our energy on finding therapies and sharing hope through education and by raising awareness. And please like, share, subscribe, do everything that will help our algorithms and help us share the news of the dangers of repeated head impacts. Corey?
Comment, do a review. If you like us, like us. If you don't like us, don't like us. But either way, let us know what you think. Our next guest, I got to say, has something in common with you, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Our next guest is, for all my San Francisco peeps, that when the Niners were the Niners before the kneeling and all the political BS, when the 49ers were the 49ers, our next guest is George Visger. George Visger attended the University of Colorado on a football scholarship, majored in fisheries biology, and played in the 1977 Orange Bowl. He was a 3-year starter as a defensive tackle, selected in the 6th round by the New York Jets in 1980. Right. What round were you selected in?
6th round. I was either the 146th pick or 149th. George, do you remember what you were? What round?
Believe it or not, I was the 149th.
What round was that? That was in the 6th round, right?
6th round, 149th pick.
Yeah, so we were either the same exact pick, 8 years apart. I'm a little bit younger, but I have less hair, and it's gray, a lot more gray. But yeah,
so that's what you guys got in common.
That's
You're
right.
both in the 146 something.
Jets. But anyway,
both by the Jets.
But you actually lasted and played.
Well, you went on to bigger and better things at the 49 on the West Coast instead of New York. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then he played with the 49ers for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Back, and we're talking Joe Montana, we're talking Jerry Rice, we're talking...
No. This is pre-Rice.
Oh, is this pre-Rice even?
This is pre-Rice. This is back in the macaroni days, man. There was no rice.
When you played there...
Was Ronnie Lott already with you guys or no?
Ronnie Lott's rookie year, 81 was the year Dwight Clark made the catch, the famous catch.
I remember
Super
that.
Bowl.
The catch.
This was the year that Dan Buns made the stop on the goal line. Really, that was the play that won the game for us. People don't realize that. This was the very beginning. So my rookie year in 80, I think we were like 7-9 or 8-8. We were mediocre. And then 81, we came out of nowhere and went, 14-2 and playoff games and Super Bowl. So that was it.
That's pretty cool.
So 2 years, and then sustained a concussion against the Cowboys, yet played the entire game by clearing his head with smelling salts. Early in the following 1981 Super Bowl season, George developed
hydrocephalus
Hydrocephalus.
Yep, hydrocephalus.
Water on the brain, and underwent 3 emergency VP shunt brain surgeries in 8 months, and was given last rites at age 23.
Yeah. Okay. That's worrisome, but okay. So, and we have to go on. After a multi-year work comp legal battle to get his hospital bills paid for, he returned to school in 1986 to complete a biology degree. George survived 5 emergency brain surgeries during a 10-month period while enrolled in chemistry, physics, and pre-calc courses. And despite developing dyslexia and major short-term memory deficits, he earned a Bachelor of Science in Biological Conservation and a minor in social science in 1990, and began a career as a wildlife biologist. In 1994, he survived a 9th brain surgery. Returning to his wildlife work just a few weeks later, he taught in high school in biology and algebra and chemistry for 3 years before returning to work as a biologist in 1999. And he founded Visger and Associates Inc., Environmental Consulting, in 2003, and the Visger Group, Traumatic Brain Injury Consulting, in 2010. George has been...
And you can get that at www.viskergroup.org.
He's been on just about every network imaginable. He's it's okay. The Outside the Lines, the media out the U.S., England, Germany, and Brazil, and consulted directly with Dr. Rich Allenbogen, co-chair of the NFL Head, Neck, and Spine Injury Group, on rule changes to reduce TBI in football. And as many as you had 9 brain surgeries, and you were very well equipped and knowledgeable to do some of that work with Dr. Ellenbogen. So thank you for kind of getting the ball rolling with TBI, and being very active in the NFL.
What kind of rule changes did you make back in them days?
You know what? If you Google Sports Digest, got a hold. So when Rich Ellenbogen first got hired as the head of the mild traumatic brain injury group for the NFL, I had discovered not long before that, a year or so earlier, I discovered Dave Pear's blog, and Dave was an all-pro defensive tackle with the Raiders, and then had this blog going, and I had no idea that there were other guys like me out there. I thought I was just this anomaly. So I discovered this blog, and it's like, holy cow, there's all kinds of us out there that have just been destroyed, discarded, thrown to the garbage, scrambling, losing their minds, their homes. So anyway, I start posting a bunch, and then I see, and the NFL finally fired their Dr. Casson, who was just, he was a whore. And they hired this Dr. Rich Ellenbogen. Well, I don't know Ellenbogen from squat. And so I post this letter to him on Dave Pear's blog, not knowing he would ever even read it. I wrote, "Dear Dr. Ellenbogen, I pray to God you're a man of character, and you do the right thing, and you're not another paid whore by the NFL owners." I said, "or you'll have blood on your hands like these other criminals will." And I went on to list a bunch of guys I played against, Mike Webster, Justin Strauss, some of these guys that ended up dying of CT. And I said, I said, "I hope you're a man of character and do the right thing." About a day or two later, I get a phone call. And I was no one in the NFL. I was just one of these blue collar kids, scratching to make a roster. About a day later or two, I get a phone call. I answer the phone. This is George. I hear this, "George, this is Dr. Rich Ellenbogen." And I say, "What the F do you want?" And I get into his ass pretty good. Anyway, and then he's fumbling, and I hang up on him. A day later, he calls me back again. "George, this is Dr. Ellenbogen." I go, "What the hell you want now?" And he starts going on. He says, "I've been reading up on you. You've had 9 brain surgeries. You completed a biology degree during brain surgery, 4th, blah, 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 blah." He goes, "You're an environmental consultant." He says, "It's a miracle what you're doing." He says he had personally implanted hundreds of these shunts. And he says, you realize we have a 50% failure rate with shunts. And I said, well, 8 of my 9 have failed. And he says, no, 1 out of 2 people that have had one never returned to full cognitive functioning. He says, it's amazing what you're doing. So now we're warming up a little bit and we're having a decent conversation. Hang up. Next day, he calls me again. And now we're first name. He goes, George, this is Rich. He said, I'm going to give you a week. He said, in 10 days, I'm meeting with the NFL Rules Committee, and I want you to write suggestions on how to reduce brain injuries in football. He goes, I'm going to present them to the NFL Rules Committee. I sent him 4 pages, and Sports Digest got a hold of them. You can Google the Visger Rules, Sports Digest. I believe it was 2010. And you can go through all these suggestions I made. You can go, oh, number 4, they implemented 7 years ago. Number 9, that was 2 years ago. You can go down the line and see more and more and more that have been implemented every year. Everything from hitting defenseless players, leading with the head. I have things in there like put everybody on prophylactic levels of omega-3 fish oils. Simple. How simple is that? Put a hyperbaric oxygen chamber in every locker room.
So you wrote that how many years ago? And you were already up on omega-3s and hyperbaric and other therapies?
Google, that article probably came out in 2010 or 11.
Right.
And probably 11 maybe. Just Google Sports Digest, the Visger Rules. That's the name of the article.
Corey actually, he says quite a bit on this podcast that these players, football players, what the minimum wage, even if you're undrafted, you make the squad your rookie year, what is it, $850,000, something like that. Why don't you have a hyperbaric in your house?
Right.
Gallons and gallons. You were just saying you were working with a doctor sending you gallons of omega-3s.
Why not have red light therapy? Why not have all this?
I've done near infrared
your
light
basketball
therapy.
court, do all of that, but you're the idiot.
Yeah. If you or someone you love is living with Parkinson's, MS, or symptoms associated with CTE, this is worth knowing. Ambio Life Sciences offers a novel alternative medicine called Ibogaine and operates the only Ibogaine clinic in the world for people with neurodegenerative disorders.
Many are reporting meaningful improvements in their quality of life after Ibogaine treatment. Interested? You can learn more about Ibogaine and apply at ambio.life.
Here's the thing with hyperbarics. Studies have shown if you get into a chamber within 24 hours of a concussion, the vast majority of people will return to full cognitive functioning within 48 hours. So I wrote a letter to Ellenbogen. I said, give this to the owners. I said, I could put money in their pocket. Not that I gave a damn about their money, but I said, for the cost of a chamber, when I wrote this thing in 2010 or 11, whatever the average salary was, let's just say it was $160,000 a year, so $10,000 a week, right? I mean, I don't know what it was, and I don't remember. But for the cost of one chamber, and if you have 4 guys with concussions that year, and they all come back within 2 days instead of being out 2 to 3 weeks, you more than pay for your chamber right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I said, and I don't really give a damn about putting money in the owners' pockets. I want to see these guys being healthy when they get done. And here's another thing too. I pulled up at one time, it was like, I don't know, one of the big airlines was upgrading all their Boeing 727s. They were giving them away. Okay. There was like 115 of these things. I told them, you can take one of these Boeings, cut the wings off, park it on your practice facility. You could have meetings in there under pressure, guys breathing pure oxygen, getting treatment, meetings, whatever you want to do every single day for the cost of what? Parking it and refurbishing it? Boeing was giving away a whole bunch of them years ago.
Do you have you seen Aviv? It's a company over near the Villages in South Florida or Central Florida. They have they have a tank almost like a fuselage of a plane.
Yep.
And you can sit by like 18 people in it. And
Yeah, they have multi-place chambers. I've done some of those, and I've done mainly the single. But in the multi-place, it gets cheaper and cheaper to treat guys too. You know, I was down at Epplinger Clinic twice for a week. Ricky Williams had put on a program quite a few years ago, and he brought in the first year. He brought in like 7 or 8 of us, beat up former players, for a week of intensive cranial sacral therapy at the Epplinger. And then the second year he did it, I was the only guy they brought back, probably because I needed more help than anybody. But we did 2 years down there, a week each year we had anywhere from 2 to 4 craniosacral therapists on us at once for up to 7 hours a day. It was pretty amazing, intensive stuff. But they also, Epplinger, they also do hyperbarics and stuff. We weren't undergoing that while we were there. But it's a simple way, a simple fix plus it treats every cell in your body. It increases mitochondrial activity up to like 800%. And your mitochondria in each cell, those are like the little engines in each cell. They produce ATP, which is the gasoline that every cell in your body runs on.
Little battery pack.
And when you get a concussion, your mitochondria get stunned. And one of the problems is you don't produce all the ATP you were before. It drops way down. So hyperbarics, well, if nothing cranks those juices up, you get ATP being formed. Your brain, your neurons can start functioning again. It creates new neuronal growth, which they didn't think was possible. It's a bazillion benefits for no side effects. You're breathing oxygen is what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of studies that are proven, the clinical trials, peer reviewed. It works. It has a great effect on the body and the brain. So,
yep.
I gotta say, I got a brain thing happening right now, and I'm stuck on a rabbit hole.
Okay.
And I want to talk about NFL pay.
Yeah.
Because you brought up how they make $800,000.
I think it's more than that.
It's more than that now.
Right. But now, hold
George,
on.
can you imagine?
Hold on. Let me get there.
We can play one play. They're just
hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Before I lose my rabbit hole problem. You both were drafted 6th round, about the same draft, 8 years apart.
Yes.
So I'm going to break this down to everyone that thinks NFL players are rich and make millions. Let's break this down.
Oh, yeah.
George, do you remember what your first contract was when you got drafted?
Absolutely. I signed for a $15,000 signing bonus, of which I cleared 10, and I took 7 of that, and I bought my sister-in-law a brand new car while I drove my 73 Chevy long bed stepside my rookie year in 80, because my brother had just started a business. They had 3 small kids. They lost their car. So I bought them a car. So $15,000 signing bonus. And I signed a 3-year contract with the Jets, which, Paul, you and I both know they mean nothing. I mean, it's all paper.
One way contracts.
Yeah. So my contract was $35,000 for the first year, $45,000 for the second, and had I survived 3 years in the NFL, I would have made $65,000.
Nice. Well,
now 8 years later.
8 years later,
when you got drafted, what were you?
I $25,000 signing bonus, and I bought a Chevrolet Celebrity because I knew I could handle the payments if I didn't make the team.
There you go. Exactly.
But what
was your first year's? What was your salary?
$55,000. And
there you go.
And I ended up starting 8 games. And that the next year, that they didn't pay me more just because I started. I still had to.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So
they're not going to say, hey,
you
had a great year. We're going to bump you up. Oh, no.
No. I had the most tackles on the defensive line my second year, but I still had a 3rd year in my contract. It was 55, 70, and I think it went up to 85. So I was in the big time, my third year. So anyway,
So
but that's it. That's
these
8
people
years.
making $750,000 or more their rookie year after signing bonus. Now, the people that are suffering, like George and Paul and all these people that even Alden Smith, I don't think made that much money, who just recently passed away. Plus, your buddy just recently passed away. I saw it on Facebook. A guy that you played with in Colorado, was it? That he just died, George?
Oh, yeah.
Was it your year?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Tom Perry.
Tom Perry.
Okay. So Tom Perry, he was a senior my sophomore year, an absolute freaking creature. Good guy. He was 6'3", 2. This was big for a linebacker back then. Almost 2. He was like 239. Ran like a 4.5 40. Literally was about 8% body fat. I mean, just one of these creatures. Looked like a Mr. Universe type guy, right? Big. So we're playing Nebraska in 1970. It was 77 or 78, either my sophomore year or rookie year. And I've got pictures of he and I on the making a tackle. So he gets dinged early in the game and comes out one play, goes back in, finishes the game with us, which we lost. We were playing in Lincoln. We're in the showering up after the game. Tom flops over into convulsions on the floor.
Wow.
Team doc, he's everyone back up, and Tom's just convulsing. And our team doc recognizes what was going on, gets one of the equipment guys to bring him a drill that they drilled our helmets with.
No.
Doc Brown drills a hole in his skull.
No way.
Blood shoots out several inches. They rush him into the hospital in Lincoln. 2.5-hour brain surgery. They don't have a neurosurgeon there, but they relieve the pressure. Then they fly him to Omaha or somewhere, does like another 8-hour surgery, and then had 3 brain surgeries the next 3 days to stop bleeds. Okay. So, and then Tom went on, of course, he never played after that, but he went on to finish his bachelor's, earn a master's, earned a PhD, taught, counseled for many years. And then we reconnected a few years ago at one of our Orange Bowl reunions back in Colorado. And he was starting to struggle. And I kept in touch with him for a long time, And then so ever since then, he's been almost daily was texting, calling, asking me questions. And I could tell he was really struggling, And gosh darn, I mean, just 2 weeks ago, and he'd been just like pepper me daily, multiple times a day with the same questions. And he wanted to file a work comp case. I was trying to explain to him, Tom, this wasn't a work comp. And he was going on and on. Anyway, 2 or 3 weeks ago, he has a psychotic event. He loses it. He ends up in jail under a 72-hour psych watch in Colorado Springs. Somehow he breaks out of the cell, punches out 2 cops, runs down 10 flights of stairs. The next thing I know, I get a call from gosh darn it, I've been talking to the guy for weeks. Again, I can't pull names out sometimes. Another one of our linebackers from that year who played and lives down in Bakersfield, California. And so he calls me, Bill Muxlow. He says, hey, TP's in intensive care. I'm like, what? You got to read. Now he's in intensive care. And a couple hours later, Mux calls back. He says he's dead. I go, what do you mean he's dead? He goes, that's all I've heard. He goes, that he had a psychiatric breakdown. The next thing he knows, there was a fight. He's in intensive, and he died. TP's dead. PhD, sharp guy, hardworking. We have no idea what went on. But he knew he was struggling for the last few years. And I'm sure that had they studied his brain, I'll guarantee you he had CTE or has CTE. So we just lost him maybe 2 weeks ago, a week ago. Now, and frames are tough for me. I can't remember if it was last weekend or the weekend before, truthfully. I mean, I have multiple stories. I'm sure you do too, Paul.
Thoughts and prayers go out to you and the family.
And Alden Smith's family and everything that happened. Speaking of Alden Smith's family, I want to talk to you guys directly for just a second. I made a post the other day about Jason Whitlock, who went on social media and stated that CTE is a joke and Alden Smith was a drunk and a drug addict his whole life. He is a sports commentator, podcaster. He does Fearless. I want to just tell this Smith family, don't even look at him. Don't think about him. He's useless. He's an idiot. He's a moron. I've looked him up. He has no PhD. He has no acronyms at the end of his name. And I still welcome you to come on our podcast, Jason, and tell me that CTE is a joke. And I'll invite Chris Nowinski. I'll invite Dr. Tanner. I'll invite the doctor from UCSF. I'll invite Dr. Koffler. I'll invite Dr. Ann McKee, Robert Stern, all these great people. And you come on and tell all of us how much of a joke CTE is. I am suffering clinically, TES, probable CTE, because of repeated head impacts and concussions. And one more time, I just want to look at you and call you a flippin' moron, dude. And you're welcome to come on anytime and talk about this. Thank you.
Tell Jason that I would love to just give him a few forearm shivers and then just kind of rattle his brain a little bit and let's see what happens down the line.
Exactly.
Paul, I'm sure you'd like to toss a couple in there.
If you've been told it's all in your head, but deep down you know something is wrong, listen closely. Brain fog, depression, anxiety, irritability, even PTSD. These are not just mental issues. They may be signals of neuroinflammation and hormonal disruption, root causes that traditional medicine often ignores. At the Millennium Health Centers, founded by Dr. Mark Gordon, they have helped veterans, athletes, and everyday people restore brain function using a medical process called the Millennium Protocol. Take their free brain health assessment at tbihelpnow.org and discover if inflammation, not weakness, is holding you back. You're not broken, you're unbalanced, and balance can be restored. The fact of the matter is, he's maybe this young man had drink problems and drug, but the fact of the matter is, which came first? And hits, repeated head impacts can and will cause brain health issues, period. Memory loss, addiction is a big thing. It's repeated head impacts cause brain health issues, brain damage.
And we all know that this isn't a catch-all excuse for everyone, because we all know there are some idiots out there. There's some dirtbag ball players. There's dirtbag, you know what I mean? Criminals and all that stuff.
Right.
But like you said, Paul, the fact that banging your head for however many, I think he played 12 years or 14 years total.
11 years.
11, yeah. We all know that it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that's probably not good for your brain.
Exactly.
So if you do have an addictive personality and you are using, here's a great point we can bring up. So after my first brain surgery, I was 22, 1981. I'm in intensive care in Stanford. It was September. I remember turning 23 in the hospital. Now I grew up, we drank a lot. Was growing up as a kid, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I was a great student. I was a good guy, but we drank. And then so all through college, and that's what we did. And so as soon as I get out of the hospital, I mean, I go back to doing what we always did. We go have a couple cold ones at night. And all of a sudden, man, I'd get up in the morning, go to practice, no truck in front of my apartment. Now, they had cut both my roommates before I got out of the hospital. So I'm living by myself now. And I'm driving to the facilities. They told me I could still play. So I'm working out on injury reserve during 81 season. And all of a sudden, some mornings I get up and there's no truck in front of my apartment. And I'm thinking, I'm calling people, hey, did you see me last night? Did I, and I just started hearing these stories. Yeah, you're at this bar and you punched this guy out, you threw a chair through the window. And I'm like, bull, and I'd hitch a ride over the bar, no truck. And I keep calling people, yeah, that other bar. And I'd go over here to here my truck would be parked. I'd have no idea how I got home. This happened a few times. And all of a sudden, I start ending up in jail. I'd go out and have just a couple few beers. And next thing I know, it's 5, 6, 7 hours later. And I'm standing in jail, not passed out. I'm standing in jail with zero memory how I got there. 1 minute I'm at the bar having a beer with a buddy. Next minute I'm looking around. I'm like, how in the hell did I get here? So I got arrested 3 times the first 8 months after my brain surgery. Never been in trouble in my life. I go back to see the neurosurgeon at Stanford, May of 82. This is 4 months after the Super Bowl. This isn't like years later where I'm claiming, I go see him May of 82. And I said, hey, something has happened since your surgery. Oh, not from my surgery. He gets real defensive. I said, well, I have a couple of beers now. And I turn into the kind of guy that I freaking absolutely hate. I hate loudmouth punk bullies. And that's what I hear I've turned into. He does a CT brain scan on me. He says, you look fine. I said, I'm leaving for Mexico tomorrow to go fishing with one of my older brothers and his wife. We're renting a little cabin on the beach and we're going to hang out a few days. He says, no problem. I go, what about drinking? No problem. We fly to Cabo the next day. I have one margarita at dinner. I start getting pounding headaches. I tell my brother Mel and Nancy, I'm going to head back to the bar, man. I'm not feeling good. Now, and they never told me that these shunts go out either. It's common. No, they told me I was good for life. I could keep playing football. I go back to our little cabin. A few hours later, Mel and Nancy, and my last recollection were pounding headaches, ball of light in front of each eye like I had before my first surgery, and projectile vomiting. And then my next recollection, 16, 18 months later. So my brother comes into the apartment, that's his hotel, eyes dilated, incoherent. They're like, holy shit. My brother Mel calls my brother Bob in Sacramento. Both my older brothers college ball. And oldest brother Bob is 10 years older. So he calls an orthopedic surgeon friend of his who calls a neurosurgeon friend. The neurosurgeon's telling Dr. Cobb, says, your friend is dying. He's in Mexico. He shunts out, get him home. They call anyway, finally get me home. 2 more brain surgeries, 10 hours apart, given last rites, but with a new surgeon. And my family tells them about my drinking issues. So right after my second, third brain surgeries, again, this is 4 months after the Super Bowl, Dr. Visger, my neurologist back then, had me drink 2 beers, and they did an EEG on me for brain waves. And I was 260 back then. Two beers did nothing, 270, whatever I weighed. Just from 2 beers, brain waves all over the screen. He says, you have brain seizures from alcohol. You can never drink again.
Wow.
I quit drinking too, and I have never had a problem.
Wow.
And I have diagnosed so many of my friends over the years. It's like, listen, brother, you have the exact same thing I do. When your wife tells you you're an asshole when you're drinking, and your boss and your kids are, you need to look in the mirror. I have brain seizures from alcohol. Is what it is. Alcohol produces a short circuit in my brain. We all know so many guys, and the first thing they do when they're injured is they start self-medicating.
Right.
You're not who you used to be. That's was the hardest part for me. It was like, I was always this ball player, and all of a sudden, 23, and I'm bouncing at nights for $10 an hour, and I'm working for my brother as a laborer on his construction company for $12 an hour. I had no degree, I had no qualifications. And I'm like, wait a minute, man. I was on a Super Bowl team, and now shit, you know, and credit. I mean, it was a nightmare. So guys will turn to alcohol and drugs, which a lot of them, I guarantee you, have brain seizures from it.
Amen. It's a fact that that repeated head impacts and exactly what you suffered. Just so it was actually brain seizures after just a couple of drinks, and they measured this.
That was diagnosed scientifically.
Exactly. Well,
Well, they put me on seizure meds,
mm-hmm.
and I went to the hospital several times, and they couldn't find nothing wrong. They said you must have had a seizure, but I wasn't drinking or nothing, just having issues. And then when I got up here in 2019 and I saw my neurologist, he goes, "We got to get you off these seizure meds. You're not having seizures. You've never had seizures. You got brain trauma. You need to get off these seizure meds." And that's when they put me on the new Dexta and started me on a different path that I'm on now. But I was on seizure meds for probably seizure meds and Ambien.
Yeah,
were my two bigs.
So
now I have two different seizures. So I have grand mal seizures that I'm on meds for, and then I have the brain seizures from alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two separate things. Brain seizures, I just start going, and people don't know it, but things are short circuiting. You know,
right.
All of a sudden I'm looking around, I punch someone out, and then everyone's thinking, man, Visger's just getting really crazy. So I have two different types of seizures.
Right. I want to get back to your journey. So you grew up in California. You played sports. You were a superstar in your and you get drafted by the Jets, and then you end up playing for the 49ers. You were always a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, I hear.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
In California, grew up in California.
Oh, I love them.
So hold it. We're at in California.
Stockton, California, Northern Cal.
I know exactly where Stockton is, and you were a Steelers fan in Stockton, California.
So get this. So the 70s. So I started playing Pee Wee Pop Warner in 1970 for the West Stockton Bear Cubs. Okay, we were black and gold. We looked just like the Steelers. And get this, 29 kids on my Pee Wee Pop Warner team. 3 of us signed NFL contracts in 1980, and our safety, Von Hayes, went on to a Major League Baseball All-Star career. So we had 4 future professional athletes on this little 29-man squad of pipsqueaks. So we always had the black and gold uniforms, and then I went to Stagg High School, and we were brown and gold, very similar. And I go to Colorado, we're black and gold. But as I was growing up, and the Steelers were the first guys to really start lifting weights. And in 7th grade, man, when I played Pee Wee, and my nickname was Clang. I was so skinny and knock-kneed when I ran that the coaches said they could hear my knees clanging. But I started lifting weights religiously in 7th grade. I wanted to play in the NFL. After 3 years of lifting, my freshman year, I'm 6'2", 132. Okay, that's after lifting for 3 years. But the Steelers, man, those guys, Mike Webster, they'd have their shirts rolled up, big old guns. I'm like, oh yeah, these dudes are the real deal, man. And then what's crazy is when I was with the Jets, we played Pittsburgh in a preseason game, and they were coming off their multi Super Bowl win. And I got a chance to line up right over and I used to emulate my buddy. He would be John Kolb, I'd be Mike Webster. We'd pretend like we were the linemen. And I can remember line up over him thinking, God, man, he was like in his, 15th, 16th year. And I'm thinking, God, I used to pretend like I was you. And here I'm lined up over you. And then in 2010, when that Jean Marie Lascas's article came out in GQ magazine, The Game Brain, on Omalu's first 24 brains he studied. And the first one he talked about was Mike Webster. And I'm reading about how he ended up. And that is what really pushed me over the edge to do everything I freaking possibly could to hold the effing NFL accountable for what was going on. I started reading about more and more of these guys, and I'm reaching out to Omalu, and I'm like, are you kidding? Mike Webster's son and I, we used to talk quite often. Garrett, good guy. He flat out told me stories. He says, George, my dad was the kindest, most loving family man you ever met. And when he started going downhill, then the family fell apart. But Garrett lived with his dad and took care of him. Garrett was like a young teen, if even that, taking care of his father. And he said sometimes his dad would call and say, son, I'm trying to find my way home, but all I see are trees. He said Garrett said one time at a Thanksgiving dinner, Mike gets up from the table, walks over to the microwave, opens it, urinates in it, shuts the door, and sits back down. His mind was just being eaten up by CTE. And I heard firsthand stories from his son years ago when we were talking quite a bit. So this stuff, just all these stories just propelled me more and more. I was livid. It's like these freaking billionaires get away with all this crap because they just can't make enough money. They don't give a shit about the human carnage. So I probably got off track of what you asked me on. But
millions live with depression, anxiety, fatigue, or emotional chaos, believing it's permanent. It's not. The Millennium Protocol targets hidden inflammation and hormone disruption caused by trauma, stress, and time. Created by Dr. Mark Gordon, featured multiple times on Joe Rogan and the Head Rush podcast, plus the documentary movie Quiet Explosions, this approach has transformed lives once written off as hopeless. Visit tbihelpnow.org and take the 10-question brain health assessment. Healing is possible. Your story isn't over. Let's begin again with your brain.
Tell us where your journey started with Dr. Bennet Omalu. I know you have a fascinating story of you wanted to see him or talk to him, and all of a sudden it happens. Tell us about that.
Right then, I had just mentioned that article by Jean Marie Laskus that came out in GQ magazine, right? So I have a small environmental consulting business back then. I'm working real late at night. I'm on my computer, and I get this text from one of my old Colorado teammates, and there's like 12 or 14 of us, my old buffs from the 70s that still, every day we get texts. I'm so tight with some of these guys, it's amazing. And so I'll get a text from one of them. It just said, hey, Vis, check out GQ magazine. The name of the article was The Game Brain, the NFL's cover up for brain injuries. And so as I tell people, as you can see looking at me, I don't read GQ magazine. And so I go to buy it. It was like a couple of weeks later and it was out of print. So I'm in my office. And when I was running my business back then, I was working. My last year I went out on disability. I averaged 109 hours a week for 14 months straight, trying to keep things, under control. So I'd be in my office working at midnight, 1 in the morning. I'd make writing reports. So when I finally pulled this article up one night and I printed it, I still have that exact article in my computer folder right now, or carrier. I printed out. It's 24 pages long, and it starts off the first paragraph: on a cold, still, foggy Pittsburgh day, young neuropathologist Dr. Bennet Omalu arrives at the Allegheny coroner's office, and there on the slab was Mike Webster, and it says, unlike most males in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Dr. Omalu had no idea who Mike Webster was. And I'm reading the story about he did the study of Mike and all these guys, and I'm writing notes. I copied this article. I'm writing notes. I get done reading it that night, and I'm like, I got to find this freaking Omalu. Again, I'm telling you guys, God has had his hand on me so many times on this journey. So when this article was written, Bennett was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Okay. It just came out a couple months earlier, whenever it came out. So I get online. I was just starting to learn how to use the computers, and I track him down. Where is he at? He's the head neuropathologist for San Joaquin County Coroner's Office, okay, in Lodi, California, 40 minutes from my office in Sacramento. Lodi High was our rivals when I played at Stagg High School in Stockton. I pull up, I find his cell phone number. I dial it. I get this voicemail. And I get this very strong Nigerian accent. Yes, hello, this is Dr. Bennet Omalu. Sorry, I can't take your call. And this is how he ends his voicemail. And I knew I had the right guy. He ends it with, and remember, God loves you.
Hmm.
And I'm going, okay, this guy's going to be legit. He's not. And I leave him this voicemail. Dr. Omalu, Nick George Visger, Fed 9 brain surgery from the NFL, blah, 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 blah. Calls me back within an hour.
Hmm.
Yes, George, I'd love to meet with you, but I can't tonight. He says, I'm speaking at UC Davis Medical Center. And again, tell me God has not been all over me. I go, what time are you done? He goes, I won't be done till 7:30 or whatever it was.
No,
8.
how close was that to you?
Close.
15 minutes from my office.
Close.
15 minutes. He goes, I won't be done. I go, what time are you done? He goes, what it was, 7:30. I go, I'll see you at 7:35 in the lobby. We go to dinner that night. The restaurant closes. They clean it. We're sitting there till midnight, bouncing stories back and forth about what they did to him, did to me. And at one point, Bennet looks at me, and he'll talk about himself in the third sense. He says, why do they attack Dr. Omalu? I said, I'll give you, back then it was 9 billion is what the NFL made.
Mm.
I said, I'll give you 9 billion reasons why, Bennet. I said, this is America. I said, these corporations don't give a shit about human carnage. It's all about money. And he looked at me and he says, but don't they want to know they're killing their employees? I said, hell no. You're the worst thing in the world. You're the worst nightmare. And he could not grasp that. But from that day on, he and I have been shoulder to shoulder in this battle. We have spoken together at congressional hearings, at brain injury conferences. He wrote a forward, an acknowledgement from my book. He's a good man. Bennett's a good man. I love him.
Your early interactions, you heard Bennet say, why do they try to hurt Bennet Omalu,
Yeah.
Dr. Omalu? So you're telling me that the NFL didn't jump on the research wagon and help find out what was killing their players?
They ripped him to shreds. Read some of the things they said about
Oh, yeah, it's horrible.
who's this freaking monkey swinging over from Africa telling us experts about brains? You know what I mean? I mean, Bennet has 4 freaking degrees,
Right.
including an MBA.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a neuropathologist. I couldn't even remember all the stuff he has. He's got multiple PhDs and a master's in business. I mean, the guy is brilliant. And he just could not grasp why they weren't coming to him like a hero, going, oh my gosh, you're saving all these lives. I will tell you this, when the movie Concussion came out, I knew the story personally, and that was spot on. In fact, Bennet helped produce it. And in fact, in the movie, they showed Justin Strelzik's actual suicide.
Mm-hmm.
That accident.
That's the actual
when
dash cam.
When they crossed the median.
Yep, that was the cop's dash cam. I had seen that years before the movie came out.
Yeah.
I just got done watching it again. It's on Netflix now.
Yeah.
Such a devastating movie. And what they did to Omalu just wasn't right. But we all know what it all boils down to is dollars and cents. And
there's no sense in that whatsoever.
exactly. And so now you've written a book, George. Tell us about it and when we can expect its release.
Hey, it's titled Facing Giants, My 38-Year Battle. So when I was originally injured in 81, and, you know, all the brain surgeries and the seizures, and it took me 38 years to settle my work comp case. Over the years, I beat the 49ers work comp carrier travelers in 5 work comp hearings. I had to beat them. 8 work comp appeals, and 3 times they took me clear to the California Court of Appeals just to keep me from getting into doctor-prescribed treatments.
Mm.
It has been a knockdown, as if it wasn't hard enough battling to stay alive, battling to finish degrees, with my memory, battling to hang on to my business, battling to take care of my family. And then on top of this, I've been in a legal battle for 4 decades, or I was. And so finally, so when the brain injury lawsuit came out in 2011, so Jason Lukasiewicz, who filed the first suit, was friends with Bennet back in Pittsburgh. And Jason was just a warrior attorney for a big, huge firm, young guy. And he and Bennet were good friends. And he saw what they're doing to Bennet. So clear back in 11, maybe 10, a lot of stuff happened for me in 10 and 11 after that article came out. So I get a phone call from this Jason Lukasiewicz in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He introduces himself. He says, we're looking to a potential, class action suit against the NFL on brain injury. I said, I'm your freaking guy to talk to. So he flies out from Pittsburgh with an attorney associate that he brought from Motley Rice. So Motley Rice settled the multi-billion-dollar big tobacco suit years ago. I mean, they are worth billions. One of the biggest law firms, I guess, in the world. I mean, they're huge. And like Jason told me, the company worked for Persky, White, and Goldberg, Persky, and White. He said, we're not big enough to take them on, so we're trying to team up with someone. So these guys fly, they want to talk to me. And again, I was a nobody. I've got my little environmental consulting business. I'm renting a trailer as my office. I had like 3 other biologists working for me, just scram. These guys fly out from Pittsburgh, fly into San Francisco, drive up to my office in Sacramento, meet with me for 2.5 hours, and then leave. I'm going, wow, that's weird. So next day, Jason Lukasiewicz, and God bless you, Jason. I call him my brother. He also wrote a foreword for my book. He calls me the next day and he says, let me tell you what's going on, George. He explains to me their firm isn't big enough to take on the NFL, but so they're trying to team up with this Persky White. With Motley Rice, he settled big tobacco. And Jason told me this, I never forgot it. He says, but I tell you this, George, whether these guys team up with us or not, he says, I will find somebody to file this suit with. It's the right thing to do. And I said, Jason, I will stand with you shoulder to shoulder. I said, I will fight these assholes because they have destroyed lives. A few weeks go by, get a phone call from this guy from Motley Rice. I can't remember his name, nor do I even care. He says, well, George, after months of review and all the big bosses, this is what he tells me. Motley Rice, one of the biggest law firms in the world, says, we don't think we have what it takes to take on the 600-pound NFL gorilla. And I said, F you pussies. I said, I'll do it myself. I called up Jason. He says, George, I'm going to find someone. And Jason Lukasiewicz, even though all these big firms take claim for filing and settling this suit, Jason Lukasiewicz filed the very first suit with 55 of us. And I'm the 22nd named plaintiff on the original brain injury filing. And I was one of 7 guys. They flew back to the press club in Washington, D.C. when they unveiled the suit. We had 249 media from all over the country and the world when Jason unveiled the suit. And he said we had a couple Hall of Famers speaking. All I did was I got to the podium. It was my turn. I had a picture of my SPECT scan from Amon's clinic, which shows all the holes in my brain. I said, here's my reality. I said 9 NFL brain surgeries and 0 NFL benefits. I said, do I need to say anything else? And I just sat down. And so Jason filed that first suit. And so what I'm getting at, when that suit finally, and then of course I lost, but then we lost my house, my business, my kids, my family. I lost everything. I'm living on floors for 2.5 years at the hyperbaric clinic. I'm sleeping in trailers. Finally, in 2017, that suit was won. And I don't know if you were involved in it, Paul.
Not the original one. This episode of the Head Rush podcast is brought to you by the Patrick Risha CTE Awareness Foundation. Their goal is to spread awareness about the dangers of RHI, repetitive head impacts, after losing their son, Patrick, to CTE. Sadly, there are too many like Patrick that have lost their families, jobs, and sometimes their lives. And this foundation is working hard to stop the devastation that can come from not protecting the brain. This foundation provides parents of school-age children with information about the dangers of sports, concussive sports, and activities which involve head trauma.
They advertise on social media, print media, and billboards. Please follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok and share their ads with others. And please visit their website, stopcte.org, to find ways to help people recognize the disease if confronted with it in their family, and how to prevent the suffering that can come to families when a brain is damaged. The website has medical forms to take to doctor's visits and advocacy letters if you want to help make change in your community. And their most recent campaign is geared up to help coaches build brain-healthy teams. You can use the information on stopcte.org website to understand CTE, live with CTE, and prevent CTE. Please visit. Thank you. And don't knock it. Stopcte.org.
So the way they had it structured was you had to be diagnosed with one of 5 ailments.
Right.
If you died by CTE, that paid up to $5 million. If you had Lou Gehrig's disease, that would pay up to $4.5 million. Parkinson's, $4 million. They had the sliding scale. Okay. And the bottom 2 were neurocognitive impairment 2.0, which is dementia, which is what I have, and the lowest one was neurocognitive impairment 1.5, which is almost. But the way they had it set up,
Actually, it was.
you needed 5 years to be vested in the NFL brain injury lawsuit, even though you only need 4 to be vested in the NFL, even though the average career was only 3.2 then. So I played 2 years in the NFL. But the humorous part about this is that the year I had 3 brain surgeries did not count in the brain injury lawsuit because I was injured in preseason. So I only qualified for 1 of 5 years. So I got 20% of what I qualified for. Still was going to be a few $100,000. It was to get my family back into a home, my kids back together. Within a week of me being approved for my settlement, the Travelers, who were already into a multi-decade battle on my work comp stuff, within a week, they swoop in like freaking flies to a pile of crap, and they file a $615,000 lien on my NFL settlement, which was more than I was even going to get. So then when we finally go to hearing in 2019, after 38 years of this craziness, it was to try to read, and I had, work comp, knee and brain injury suit with the 49ers. So we were going to try to, in 2019, we go to this hearing. We're going to try to remove the lien on my NFL suit and then settle my work comp claim, my brain injury needed once and for all. Done with them, right? And that's where the facing Giants, my 38-year battle. And then we go into this mediation hearing. The Travelers send their top 7 corporate big dogs. And again, tell me if I'm getting off track here.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, good, because I will get rolling on things and just forget what the question. And so they send their top 7 big corporate big dogs to fight little old me. And I've got Jason Lukasevich there. He flew out from Pittsburgh with an associate friend of his, Mad Max Petrunia. I call him Mad Max because on the side, when he's not an attorney, he's a wrestler. He's a professional wrestler, and he wrestles under the name The Gavel.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got Mad Max and Jason from my NFL suit, and I've got Chris Asbar, my freaking warrior work comp attorney, who beat them in all these hearings and over the years. Chris is just another one of my angels. And so we go head to head. So the media, it's a mediation hearing. And if we don't settle it that day, they're taking me to a full-blown jury trial 4 days later. A jury trial for work comp. Unheard of. But see, I had no idea. I was precedent setting. When I originally won my work comp case in '86, I was the very first NFL player to ever won a case because I had to sue to get my second, third brain surgeries paid for. And then I didn't settle. I left my medical open, used voc rehab to go back to school, finish my biology degree. And until about 2010 or so, I was the only NFL player to ever win a work comp case. So they have fought me for decades. It's like, okay, if Visger's story gets out, we're screwed. If guys learn, they actually have benefits that we've been stealing from them, we are screwed. And so I've been so vocal over the years trying to get the word out. And so we're 8.5 hours into mediation hearing and trying to reduce the lien and settle. And all of a sudden, I guess the travelers wanted to go to dinner. And the judge comes back into now I'm in one room with my attorneys, and then the judge and my attorneys would go down the hall to the stink hole where the travelers were all holed up. And they'd, hour or two down there, come back, and then this is what they did. It was back and forth all day, right? 5:30 that night, judge comes into my room. He says, here's your latest offer. Slides me a piece of paper. I'm on the back side of this big conference table in this room, just, by myself. Slides me a piece of paper. I look down. Now they want me to pay them $700,000. And I lost my mind.
Yeah.
I jumped out of my seat. I had my finger in his face. The judge, I said, F you and F them. I'm walking. I said, we're going to trial. And I'm going on. Of course, there's a lot more expletives going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, no. And I'm just going off on them and just, I'll kick their asses. I don't give a shit. I said, I don't have anything. I said, I'll go down. I'll give them all brain damage. I said, throw my ass in jail. I'll have a roof over my head and 3 squares a day. I don't give a shit anymore. I lost my family, my kids, my marriage, my home, my business. I said, I don't give a shit. And while I'm going off on them, everyone's trying to settle me down, on the table, before we went in, weeks before, we had a private company write a life care plan for me. Now, through Chris Asvar's multiple hearing wins, appeals wins, California Court appeals wins, those were all to get me into. First time I did 3 days of in-house treatment at Center for Neuroskills in Bakersfield in my mid to late 50s. Never had treatment. I'm showing improvement. They recommend 90 days. Another 1.5 years of win another work comp hearing, appeal, California Court of Appeals. I do 90 days of in-house treatment at Center for Neuroskills. Now I'm in Emeryville, closer to my family. Still showing improvement. Doctors recommend a year. Now keep in mind, this is $1,500 a day. We're sticking it to the old travelers, So they recommend a year. Another nuclear battle. Chris Asvar goes head to head with them. We beat him in a hearing, appeal, California Court of Appeals. I do a year there, which is where I met my beautiful wife now, Jennifer, another one of these blessings in my life because of this. And so only after that year, we sit down, they say, Mr. Visger's still showing improvement. He's freaking 61 years old. He may need this forever. That brought them to the table finally. So that's when we went into our mediation hearing in 2019, October. And that's where they wanted me to pay him when I lost my mind. And I said, we'll go to trial. And they came back. Judge says, give me one more chance. And he went down the hall. And I wrote on the piece of paper what I wanted to do to him. And I said, read this to him. And he came back an hour later, and they folded their tents. They went from me asking me to pay them $700,000 to them paying me. I can't divulge numbers, but it's many figures.
Right.
And the judge came in. He goes, here's their offer. I looked at it. I tapped it. I said, this is supposed to be worth what my family went through for 38 years. He says, it's not perfect, but I think it's a good offer. And I looked and I'm tapping it. I said, so the lien's gone from NFL stuff. He goes, yes. I said, this 7 figures is supposed to be what we went through. He says, yes. And I said, not even freaking close. Now everyone's thinking, shit, Visger wants to go to trial, which I didn't. I would, and I paused and I just said, but I'm done fighting. I'm done. And it was like 1,000,000 pounds left my shoulders, and my vision cleared. And I'm like, I'm done. We punched it across the goal line, and I'm done.
Mm.
I could think about things I want to do, not things I have to do now. I mean, it's like this battle. And we walked out of that room, and Jennifer was out in the hall all day waiting. And she came up, and me and her and Chris Asvar and Jason Lukasevich and Mad Max Petrunia, we walked out of that building, and I literally stepped outside and I looked around. I said, Jennifer, I said, oh my God, I said, I could see again. I can literally, I'm planning things I want to do. I want hunts I want to go on, and get back into a home and do things with my kids. I was so focused for so many years. It was just like I had to just keep my head down. And Paul, you'll know that it's like just short, choppy steps, man. Just keep your head down, stick your face in numbers, and just grind. I couldn't look up and think about what was going on. I just had to just keep pounding. And that moment, the shutters came off, and it was like, here's your life, George. And that's how my book, it's a brand new life, man. It is the most beautiful, blessed. And I was estranged from my kids for years. I had anger issues when we were homeless. No one wanted to be around me. I got the most beautiful card from my daughter, Amanda, yesterday. The day before, I get this. Where is it? Oh, my gosh. My daughter, Stephanie, sends me this manly, there's a name for bouquet, but it's flowers made out of teriyaki jerky cut into flowers, and they're on beef stick stalks. I'm like, and it's not even Father's Day yet. And my kids send me these. It's just, you know what? We have healed. Christy, my ex, and Jennifer, they FaceTime each other. Christy thanks Jennifer for being the greatest second mom to our kids. Jennifer thanks Christy for giving her the three greatest. We have great kids. My children are amazing. Good. I mean, this whole thing is healed beyond you could have written a script. You couldn't even written a script like this. And I've been blessed. God has blessed me, and I thank him every day. I hit my knees, and I thank him. He has had his hand on me this whole journey. And so from here on, fourth quarter of life, whenever I say fourth quarter, Jennifer says, no, it's just second half. I said, honey,
well, we get. I'm
not going to live to be 104 years old.
We get the fourth quarter and double overtime, George. Double overtime.
That's it, and right. So we're just getting started, man. When this book comes out, we're hitting the ground. I'm doing my talks again, my brain recovery talks, my motivational talks. I'm spreading the word. There's help for folks. Never give up. Keep pounding. And so I'm fired up.
So
if you haven't noticed.
We know through the years you've been through congressional hearings related to head trauma. We know that one of your friends is Brandy Winans. She's a dear friend of ours. She's actually on the board of the Head Rush Foundation. Tell us briefly about these experiences. We've got just a few minutes left, and we got a couple of questions to pack in. But your times with Brandy Winans and talking in front of Congress.
So back when I started really getting active in like 2010 or 11, I found Dave Pearson. I met Brandy on Dave Pear's blog, and I know her story with her husband, and she's been very vocal, and she and I, we've connected over the years. I've never met another one of these many teammates I have that I've never officially met. I consider her a very good close friend, even though we don't talk. She's a warrior, and I think we just exchanged a text just within the last couple of days. She commented on something I commented on, and I said, hey, my sister warrior, I hope things are going well. So we connected on our battle to hold the NFL accountable. What was your other question?
Well, we're kind of running through a couple things what we I wanted to get into your story about Dr. Amen and what you told your son and your wife about your son playing football. And what we do is bring awareness to parents and try to educate them about the dangers of repeated head impacts, and how their young brains at 7 years old are not ready to strap on helmets and go out there and start beating their heads against their teammates.
I mean, the brains, the neurons haven't even fully matured until you're in your early 20s, even,
Right.
you know? So these young little guys, I mean, you look at them, the helmets, the giant bobblehead, their necks can't even hold the helmet up.
Exactly.
You know, that in itself is causing the brain to slosh even, you know?
This episode of the Head Rush Podcast is brought to you by our personal doctor and team of doctors, Dr. Mizelle DeMayo, and she's with the Paradise Behavioral Health, and we are in the
Brainwell program, which is also part of the Millennium Health Center. Dr. Mark Gordon, you've seen him on Joe Rogan and even on our show, the Head Rush Podcast. And hormones. And Mizelle is awesome. We love her.
She's our doctor of psychiatry. She works the Mark Gordon program with the hormones, and she adds her twist of genetics, and it basically is melding two wonderful mediums together, and we're getting great help from Dr. Mizelle DeMayo.
So please check out her website at paradisebehavioral.com. Look up the Brainwell program. Get involved.
She's sponsoring us. They're sponsoring us for the next year, so we are excited to have them on board and shout the good news to everybody that is watching these broadcasts. So,
is she helping you, Paul?
Absolutely.
She's helping me. So go check her out. ParadiseBehavioralHealth.com.
Well, we could go on for another hour, but we can't.
I know. When you asked me about Eamon and my son.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so going back to 2010 or 11, same thing. That everything happened for me then. I had Dr. Amen had an NFL brain study going,
right,
and I didn't have money to even get down, but so I contacted him, and I gave him my quick background. He says, George, he goes, we don't need you for a 1 day. He goes, we need you for a 3-day neurocog evaluation. So we figured it out. We got travelers to pay, if I remember correctly, maybe not, but anyway, so I took Christy, my wife at the time, and Jack was my youngest. And Jack was, 9 or 10 or 11. And I wanted them to talk to the docs when I wasn't in the room, because you guys know what it's like. You ask us how we're doing, I'm good. And the people around us are going, no, he's not, because we have that warrior mentality. It's like, hey, we're just going to battle through. If I'm still standing, I'm still fighting. So I wanted them to talk to docs when I wasn't around. And so after 3 days of just intensive neurocog evaluation, Christy and I sit down with Dr. Willemeyer and Dr. Amen. Willemeyer was running this clinic at the time. And he just said, it's a miracle, he says, that you can even walk or function. He says, with the amount of brain damage you have, my SPECT scans, there's huge holes in them. And he says, it's a miracle. And so he recommended hyperbarics, omegas, all that. So we're walking out of there after 3 days. Jack, my son's walking. Of course, think about it. Your dad played on, championship Pee Wee Pop Warner, Hall of Fame high school teams, Orange Bowl, Super Bowl. I mean, the kid couldn't wait to play football. But I kept telling him, you're not playing in Pop Warner, wait till you get to high school. And so, and Chrissy was going, he's not going to play. I said, yeah, we don't even get to the truck. And Chrissy just says, Jack will never play football. And he looks at me, and I look at him, and I said, son, I cannot argue with your mom. I said, look what it has done to our family. We've lost almost everything but ourselves, and even that got fractured. I said, you have it, Jack. You have that you know what, that just gets things done. I said, no matter what you put your mind to, you're going to be great, but you don't need to beat your brain out playing football. Kid lettered in 4 sports in high school, scholar athlete, earned a degree in environmental technology, got hired 2.5 years before he graduated, and his brain works.
That's awesome. His brain works. Good.
His brain works.
Yep.
And he did all this without beating his brain up.
Yep. Awesome. We love to leave our audience with a word of hope. George, give us the title of your book one more time. Tell us when we can expect the release, and give us a word of hope, please.
Got it, brother. So my book is titled Facing Giants, My 38-Year Battle. It's about my 38-year legal battle to get my brain surgeries paid for. And I tell you what, it has a great ending. There's some dark times in it, but you know what? God was in control. And if you stay on the path, and he's in control, he's not just going to fix things for you and say, okay, you got to do your part. But if you stay on the path, know he wants us to succeed, and do everything you can, things will work out, I guarantee you. And sometimes it may not be what you think it's supposed to be. There are so many times I had plans and God just says, nope, crack me on the head. You're not going to be an NFL player. No, if you're not going to do this, another brain surgery. No. So finally, okay, what do you want me to do? He says, I want you to work with people with brain injuries. So just stay positive, do all you can. Don't take no for an answer. And remember, there's a reason they call it practicing medicine. They practice. They don't have all the answers. And it's not, some of them docs, it's not their fault. But I mean, just because a doc writes you a prescription or tells you something does not mean it's cut in stone. Do your own investigations. Nowadays, you can go online and pull information on anything you want. And when I had gone to doctor's appointments, when I was single till I was mid to late 30s, so I would talk to my older brother who I worked construction with, and I'd say, hey, what's been going on with me last time I saw these docs? And he'd rattle off stuff, and I'd have my notebook, like I carry these 40-something years every day of my life, and I'd write down pointed questions. And I tell people, when you go in to see your doc, sit their butt down and have pointed questions already written out. And if they can't answer them, fire them. People forget they work for us. Somehow this whole system is spun around to where, Dr. So-and-so is going to see me and people are all excited. Screw that. You're paying them. They better listen to you and have answers for your questions. And if not, fire them. And there's a million people out there. Just keep going through till you find the right teammate to work with. And that's probably one of the biggest things I can tell. Never say never. Put in God's hands and educate yourself on whatever it is you're dealing with, and it'll work out. I'm living proof, man.
Great. George, it's a pleasure to have you on. We're looking forward to your book. I want to read that ending. I'm really looking forward to that. And God bless you. And we'd like to lock arms with you and take a stand with you. So
let's do it, man.
Yeah. Anything we can do.
Let me know how I can help you guys. I appreciate you having me on the show. Anything I can do to help support you guys and promote you, let me know.
Absolutely. Thank you, George.
Well, and
appreciate it. God bless you both, brothers. Thank you.
You too. Sorry, we got storm coming in, and
he's a little overstimulated, so we're gonna have a nice quiet ride home, and I'm gonna try to drive sanely on these Dallas freeways. So
careful.
Thank you, George. Make sure you like, subscribe, share everything you do to help us get the word out of the dangers of repeated head impacts. Thank you. Stay alert and stay alive.
And again, this is what it looks like to have brain injuries, people, and barometric and everything affect you. This is what RHIs bring. I've been tested for everything from that could possibly be why I get this way, and what everyone says is it's RHI repeated head impacts is what causes me to be this way. And I am really off. So I just want you all to, when you look at me, understand that when you put Johnny in a helmet at 7 and at 21 he's getting hit, and at 30 you're looking at what it could be like. Or if you're putting Johnny on a mini pony at 6 and getting him bucking horses all the way through, this is what his life could be. And, realize that this didn't happen in 4 years. This took 40 years, 30 years. And just, I want you to think about that. Thank you. And thank you, George. I appreciate you so much. Everything you've done. I wish this episode would have went better, but brain injuries do what brain injuries do, and I'm not right. So I just want to thank you all, and thank you, Paul, and George. Just thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
You're a brother.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. It's an awesome.
I'm looking forward to teaming up with you guys any way I can help.
Thank you, George, and thank you, Corey, for being vulnerable. And George, thank you. It was a great episode. We're gonna do this again someday soon.
This podcast is for general information only and does not constitute the practice of medicine. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard and delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.